Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and just like every airline pilot I once started flying using one of these. Two-engined, propeller-driven airplane. And this one is a special one. Now this is the Diamond DA42 built from the development group calling themselves cows. Yes, they really do. And yes, it does refer to the animal, and yes, they do say that cows are actually rather aerodynamic, which is true. But the special thing about it really is that everyone involved with building the systems, building the flight model, is an actual DA42 pilot. Now, the story behind this airplane is that you had a bunch of flight students who were looking to practice a little bit in flight simulators, and they couldn't find anything. They just couldn't find a good DA42, so they decided, hey, then we're going to build one on our own. And the result of it is truly amazing. This is the Chaos Diamond 42, going to be released through OpX on the 10th of February 2024, and this is a study level simulation of a DA42, which we are going to explore today. So follow me inside the cockpit of our DA42. Now we are quickly going to load up our payload. We do need to do this through the... oh, that's interesting payload here. We do need to do this through the flight simulator menu because there is no tablet or anything the likes included in here. The DA42 is really made for... it's really made for... flight students who want to practice for their actual training. So with that in mind, we did get an airplane that is tailored at flight students, tailored as practicing for real-world aviation. Now, we have picked a flight that is going to resemble this philosophy, and this is going to be from Kiel-Holtenau Airport in northern Germany over to Lübeck-Blankensee, which is going to be a quick 30-minute flight. And just like weather conditions in northern Germany are in winter, it's February after all, we can already see, based on the flags over there, a lot of wind. The windsock the same. This is easily 15 knots, even though the windsock should be marked over here, and the markers should tell us like how strong the wind really is, but hey, we gotta live with what we have. So this is our conditions. Let's go ahead and close that canopy before it actually flies off. And then we're going to start our procedures. The actual procedures we do have are from an actual flight school as well, so that is pretty cool. Alright, let's go ahead then and get our airplane going. So before start, checklist. Pre-flight inspection complete, mass and balance checked, papers on board, emergency equipment checked, canopy and rear door locked, park and brake set. So alternate, static and emergency gear checked, avionic master off. Then horizon, caged and hold. Okay, that is caged and hold. Alright, electric master on. Circuit breakers check all in. Now the circuit breakers, all of them, are actually modeled. I can show you a little bit of funny stuff with that later on, but let's first start and get the airplane into the flight. Okay, so elevator backstop checked. So elevator backstop in the DA42, you pull the elevator fully back, then you advance thrust levers, and that is going to move the actual elevator a little bit forward. And that's what it does. Alright, so flaps up, flight controls are checked, and fuel selector left and right are on, and we do have sufficient fuel on board because the plane is fully loaded. And that's the before start checklist complete. Alright, so that's our G1000 fully powered up. Then let's go ahead with the starting engines checklist. The airplane is equipped with a FADEC, which is pretty nice, and we'll see that in action now to show you how easy it is to start this up. Okay, so power levers idle, ECU swap in auto, then alternators on, ADAS and startup clearance. So let's go ahead and grab that real quick. So we'll go into the charts and weather. So this is current weather, 311, Kavok 4 degrees, 1002. Let's go ahead and set that real quick. So that's 1002 set once and 1002 set twice. Alright, so strobe lights on, propeller area is showing clear. Then let's go for it. So engine master number 1 on, Now we observe the glow light over here, and as soon as that is out, we are going to turn the engine master, like now. Alright, here we go. Engine number 1 started. So, oil pressure is checked and is there. Really love how the oil pressure is slightly fluctuating over there. It's just really cool. You can really see that a lot went into this airplane. Alright, then. Power lever is set at minimum idle. Then let's repeat the same for engine number 2. So, engine master on. Observe the glow light. Once that is out, we're going to switch it. Okay, here we go. It's out. Engine starter on. And we've got a good start on engine number 2. Oil pressure is observed. Okay, so after start checklist. Avionic master on. Altimeters and QNH. That's 1002 and cross-checked. Okay, com nav GNS for departure set. Alright, so let's go for it. Flight plan. And here we go. So, Echo, Delta, Lima, and that's got to be Kilo. No, Echo Delta Hotel Kilo. Sorry for that. Too much used to the Lima, that's where I did my training. Echo Delta Lima Echo. So, Echo Delta Hotel Kilo. Keel halt now. Alright, enter, and the runway. We set the winds coming from 300, so runway 26 is going to be our departure runway. And then for the destination, it's going to be Echo Delta. Oh, we really got to do this all over? Okay. So, Echo Delta Hotel Lima. That's where my Lima came from, Lübeck-Blankensee. Alright, so procedure, select departure. So we're going to do Renzi departure, and that's done here. Renzi 1 November departure of 26. Looking good, and we can load that up. And then for the arrival, we might just go ahead and select that as well already. It's the Bokmu 1 Romeo arrival. Like that, and Hotel Lima 165 is going to be our transition for the approach. And looking into the approach itself, we are going to fly an ILS approach down there. So ILS 25 from Hotel Lima 165. The minimum we can dial in flight, so let's load that up. Yes, thank you. Alright then, charts, departure procedure, let's load that up. So, Renzu 1 Lima. Or the other one, sorry. Renzu 1 November. Here we go, that looks better. Perfect, so if we take a look at the chart and then do a quick briefing. So we go to Hotel Kilo 201, then a left-hand turn, Hotel Kilo 205, and then on to Renzu, Renzu above 4000. Do we have anything else on that chart? Initial climb clearance 4,000 feet. Like that. And for the routing itself, if we compare the ANAF version of things, Renzu 1 November above 500 feet. That is what we have. Hotel Kilo 201, 1500 feet or above. We have that. Then Hotel Kilo 205 and Renzu above 4000. Alright, and finally in here, it's more or less the same thing. Alright. Awesome. So then we could just go for our taxi map down here. That is going to be sufficient for us today. On a more complex airport, I would probably have opted for the taxi chart, but let's be honest over here, this is going to do. The airport isn't that complex. Alright, so apart from that, CDI is going to go into GPS, and the frequencies 1 to 2.8 and 1 to 1.5. It's an all ANAF departure, so we don't need any nav frequencies, but I want to make sure that I have not selected any ILSs or anything, so let's switch those over to, you know, something. Alright, that is gonna do. Okay, cool. So, gyro checked, pitot stall and gear warning. Let's go for it.
Check gear.
Okay. So, finally, park and brake released, and that's the after start checklist complete. So, park and brake is off, taxi light on. Then, let's give it a go, my friends. So, runway 26 means turn out to the right. So, add a bit of power. Brake check. Works. Then check the instruments as we're turning. So, we've got the turn rate, the turn coordinator is moving as well, and the heading is moving to the right. Perfect. So flight instruments are observed to function. Okay then, taxi out, and on the taxi out we can already do the briefing. So, any malfunction on the ground, we pull the powers to idle, apply maximum braking, stop the airplane. Malfunction immediately after getting airborne, we simply land the airplane straight ahead, no turns out further than 30 degrees left or right. We are not going to do an immediate re-landing by making a 180 degree turn, but if anything happens that we need to return immediately, then we are going to fly a traffic pattern. For the IFR part of things, rotate at 70, climb at 90 at first and then 100 later on, and we follow the SID, climbing altitude 4,000 feet. Now, in case of an engine failure immediately after takeoff, we are at first going to go straight ahead on the runway track, and then later we are going to make a traffic pattern out of it. Okay, questions? Nope. Awesome. So, taxi checklist. Brakes checked, flight controls checked, flap operation. And let's try full. So, flap operation checked, turning instruments checked, taxi checklist complete. Let's go ahead with a run-up then. Power levers, idle, ECU 1 and 2 test buttons. Right, press. And the ECU test is going to commence. So what this does basically is that you check the, well, how do you call that properly? Basically you check that the FADEC is working. So you can see it's going up, then it's going back down, and now it'll switch to the other unit and go back up again. The only thing that surprises me here is that we get the ECU A and B fail shown simultaneously. In all airplanes with the TLAD engines that I have flown, they always just showed one after another. So you would get ECU B fail at first because it was testing ECU A, and then when it completed the ECU A test, then it would show you ECU A fail, and ECU B fail would go out because then it would be testing ECU B. Now, I'm not sure if that's a bug or a feature though, so no final judgment from my side on that. It's just an observation here, based on what I would expect. Okay, so that's both ECUs tested. Then, engines running without change checked, ECU 1 and 2 swap auto, power levers check idle, run-up checklist complete. Alright, looks good. Then let's go ahead with the before takeoff checklist. Flaps set for takeoff, up, autopilot not engaged as ready. So, takeoff and departure briefing completed, emergency briefing completed, canopy and door locked, rudders adjusted, trims set for takeoff, belts fastened, fuel selector left and right are on, landing lights on, takeoff time copied, park and brake released, before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so squawk, let's just enter something random IFR. And line up. Okay, line up checklist, transponder on alt, gyro, runway heading. Yeah, 150 is looking good for now. We'll check it again when we're actually on the runway. Torpedo heat on, instruments and annunciations checked, lineup checklist complete. Okay, stall heat failed, that's because the engines are in idle. Once they do have a little bit more power available, the plane is going to turn, or the thing is going to work just fine. Alright, we are lined up, runway heading checked, heading buck is now set as well. Departure chart please, thank you. Alright, and with that I would say we're ready. So, during takeoff, load indications 90 to 100, RPMs between 2240 and 2300, so that's what we can check up here. Alright, cool. So, that's the lineup checklist complete, then I'd say we are fully ready. Takeoff. Timing. Set power. Power set. 60 knots, checked. Rotate. Okay, positive climb. Gear up. So, trim it out. And here we go, looking good. So, 400 feet. Landing lights coming off and power back to 90%. Here you go, power is set. After takeoff checklist. Landing gear up, flaps up, power levers 90, landing light off, after takeoff checklist complete. So 100 knots for the cruise climb looks to be a good speed. And here we go, up in the air. So, I will just do what you would do in the real world, which is hand fly the aircraft on those training flights. So, autopilot, I think in my entire flight training we used the autopilot just once, and that was just in order to demonstrate how it actually works. And apart from that, we never used the autopilot again. The entire rest we flew manually, because obviously later on in a pilot's career you will not do all too much of hand flying anymore. So for that reason, any moment hand flying you can get in while you are in training is a good moment. And that actually even applies all the way to when you actually fly the airliners. Like in the A330, of course, on a long haul the autopilot is going to be on for 10 hours, but if I can have it off for, 5 to 10 minutes after takeoff, and then 5 to 10 minutes before landing, then perfect, then I got a little bit of good training in. And in my opinion, every pilot should do that when the situation allows it, in order to maintain their flying skills as good as possible. Okay, so climb flight level 70, which is going to be our cruising level. Remember, it's an unpressurized airplane. And that is looking good. Okay, so we'll do a left-hand turn in a few moments over here. And once we've overflown Hotel Kilo 201 in a mile, we might actually receive a direct from air traffic control. Now, those directs, in actual flight training, my experience was that they often asked us, like, are you happy to accept directs or do you prefer to fly a standard route? Because often enough, your standard route would be prepared so that you can actually do a complete flight of the needles instead of just using ANA for everything. But more often than not, especially in the actual exam, whenever I'm offered a direct or radar vectors over standard routing, I would absolutely take them, because it just makes my life easier as a student pilot. Okay, so overflying 201 in a few moments. We should actually have reached the minimum radar vectoring altitude by now, so I'm pretty sure that this is pretty much the moment where we would start getting our shortcuts. Okay then, turning left. Along the filed route at first. Rate 1 turn, that's the important thing here. And this is looking pretty good. Okay, transition. Set standard. Interesting, did the... Oh yeah, it automatically set the standby altimeter as well. Okay, so be it. Alright, then let's take a shortcut here, Hotel Lima 125. Okay, enter, activate. So, rate 1 turn, just like you're used to. And this is flight school flying. This is really flight school flying. Lots of fun, very good memories. 1,000 to go. I really do have some very good memories to that. Okay, here we are. Turn is completed. Match that heading back again. 27 knots of tailwind. So ground speed 130 already. Very nice. Okay, then let's level it out in flight level 70. And then we're going to do a little bit of control switching and good stuff like that. Okay. Started the level out a little bit too late here, but overshot by only 40 feet. That's okay, within acceptable means, I would call it. Okay, then trim out the airplane. And of course, something that happens all the time during flight training. Which city is that? Oh, that is Kiel now, that is Kiel, my friends. Kiel is the name of the airport, of course. Alright, so accelerating nicely, reducing power 72% is what we are going to go for our cruise. Here we go. Alright, so with that we made it all the way up to cruise. Let's read the cruise checklist. Power levers 72% set, altimeter QNH on standard set, and annunciations, engine systems, monitor. Cruise checklist complete. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, for the purpose of demonstrations you might use the autopilot for a bit, but normally even in cruise, even if you're cruising for a long time, like an hour-long cruise or something, and I've done these flights, I've actually been up here in Kiel with the Piper 28 during my IFR training, and we flew it all the way back to Essen-Mülheim, which was an hour and a half or so on the day. So you absolutely do those flights, and you do fly them all manually. That's not only to get your instrument scan better and to make it more natural, but also so that you just gain that invaluable hand flying experience. But just to provide a little bit of relief, and because, hey, after all, I'm demonstrating a flight sim add-on for you, so I gotta demonstrate the autopilot as well, do I? Let's go, flight director, altitude mode is already engaged, GPS mode as well now, and autopilot. So just to show you, the thing has an autopilot, the autopilot does work, as you can see, so everything is good. Alright, quick look down here then. Top of descent in 8 minutes time. So that is definitely plenty of time ahead. Also, we can just delete that 4,000 restriction here. It's going to move the TD even further aft. And likewise, we can delete... No, not proceed. Delete, yes. Thank you. Also, we delete this one. And we're just going to keep the 3,000 over the final approach fix over here. That is much better. Alright, so here's our top of descent. rather close to our destination already, but few things that we can do. Target vertical speed is 1,000 feet a minute. That's perfect, exactly what we're looking for. And the rest of it is all set up now. So I would say this is like a typical display that I would use throughout the flight. Because it's nice to have that flight plan display up over here. And you don't need that huge map display either way. So I'm pretty happy with what we got now. Now, let's go over something that we might just want to do throughout the flight. Now, in the real world, you would basically in the real world, you'd probably not do this anymore. I still did it during my type rating, and that is shut off an engine and restart it in flight. Now, I would say let's go for it. I actually do have a checklist over here, so engine failure and feathering procedure. So in order to simulate this, the instructor would probably just pull the power of one engine, perhaps even just do it slowly so that the student needs to figure it out. But what we are going to do is first of all turn the autopilot off again, because otherwise it's boring. Alright, so autopilot is off. So back to manual flight. Now let's start. I'm gonna kill engine number 2 now. Ooh, that's quite a reaction of the airplane. Yeah, that's noted, thank you. Okay, cool, so set 90% on the remaining engine. Then we're looking for half-ball deflection and 5 degrees bank into the opposite engine, and that is looking good. Okay, engine failure and feathering procedure, please. Rudder, maintain directional control, that's what we do. Airspeed above VYSE, 82 knots, which it is. Inoperate engine, identify, and we can clearly see on the engine display that it is the number 2 engine that has a little load. So power lever, in-up engine retard, verify. And that is verified. Okay, fuel selector, in-up engine, off. Okay, so that's number 2. Confirm? Confirmed. Oh, that's the trim. That's the fuel. Alright, let me just retrim it. Basically, this is what we're looking for. Okay, so fuel selector number 2. Wait a moment. Off. Okay, that's right fuel pressure, right ECU B fail, right ECU A fail. Roger. Yeah. Okay, so engine master, in-up engine, off. Is this finally feathering it? Yes, now it's feathered. Okay. But I have a feeling we're flying ourselves onto the backside of the power curve here. Or are we? No, it's fine. We can just about maintain our speed and our altitude. That's good enough. Okay, so continue with the checklist. Alternator, in-up engine off. Okay, that's the alternator off. Fuel selector, in-up engine off. Off. Power lever, operative engine as required. And we do indeed have that on 90% already. Okay, half ball towards good engine and 3 to 5 degrees angular bank. So pretty much like this, we are now flying optimally. And power lever on the in-up engine to mute the horn, set. So like that. Alright. Cool. So that is pretty much everything we needed. Now the engine is secure. Let's go ahead and set ourselves some rudder trim then. In the real world, it's much easier to get an airplane in trim than it is in the simulator. As you can see down here, using the rudder trim actually does deflect the pedals, and by deflecting the pedals, you basically just turn this until you don't feel a force anymore. And that's it. Alright, so I would say the airplane is pretty much secured now. And we've got it back under control. So obviously there were a couple of rather abrupt control inputs in there that I did that I should rather not have done, but especially in the simulator I'm using my right hand side for the stick, so operating the mouse I need to reach over with my left hand and stuff like that, so you get the idea. Alright, cool. Then we've got an unfeather and restart engine checklist. Let's go ahead and do that. So first of all we gotta get the speed below 90 knots, so let's reduce the load on the live engine. So trimming it out. By the way, you can really trim this airplane beautifully. You really can. You can really see that a lot of input went in there from actual pilots on type. You can really feel that. Okay, so speed is pretty much below 90. Let's make sure that it actually stays there. Okay, looks good. The plane is maintaining the speed. So, power lever affected engine, that's number 2, idle. You can hear the warning comes on straight away again. Fuel selector affected engine on. There's number 2 and on, and the guard is in place again. Okay, alternate air as required. We'll leave that off. Alternator on. On. Engine master in-up engine on. On. Now that's going to unfeather the engine, and you can see it kind of starts moving straight away. Okay, so starter affected engine engage. So that's going to be number 2. And here we go, the engine is running again. Okay. After engine start, moderate power set, circuit breakers checked. Okay, so number 1, maintain airplane control. So moderate power set. So I'm increasing power on number 2 now. Let's start with something like 50%. Right, that's looking good. And finally comes the circuit breaker check, and with that the unfeathering and restarting engine checklist is already completed. So right, ECU A fail is what we get. We're gonna check that in a few moments. Let me just enter that direct again. Right, here we go, maintaining altitude. Let's get the rudder trim out again. Okay, that is looking good. We'll keep the number 2 engine at 46% or at below 50% for a little while to give the engine some chance to warm up again. You can nicely see it on the oil temperature gauge down here, but we'll just give it a little while to warm up again. Okay, so we'll just put the autopilot back on. Now, right ECU A fail. Let's see if we popped any breakers here. So they did say to check them, and if we just move... No, that's moving outside the airplane. And if we take a look from the side, it looks to me like the CBs are actually all in. Let's see, right-hand engine, ECU. Okay, and that's right, ECU A fail. Okay, anything we can do on here? No. Okay, tell you what. We can try a reset, but only once. So, that's right ECU A. Okay. So, right-hand engine, ECU bus, ECU A. pull. And wait 2 seconds, we got that. Push. Okay, it stays failed. Well, that's fine. Then we just gotta live without it. Okay, so be it. We'll live without it then. Okay, so let's reduce power a little bit because we're approaching the top of descent already. Let's just go 46% on both engines. We can just make it 50 just to have some nicer numbers here. Rudder trim is centered again. 50% load set on both engines. Perfect. Okay, so charts. That's our arrival. Max 220 knots. Not gonna be a problem. Above 4,000 we'll be there anyway. So for the approach, ILS 25, frequency 111.7, and we can set that active on both sides. Then we do have a DME 109.35. We might just as well select that down here. So 109.35. Like that. Okay, minimums. It's down here, Cat Alpha Airplane 275. So minimums, Barrow 280. Alright, looking good to me. So with that I would say we are pretty much set up for the approach. Okay, so we've reached our top of descent. Then the autopilot can go back off. And we can descend altitude 4,000. We'll also put the flight director back off again, because this is now all back to raw data flight. Reducing my engine load a little bit so that we don't get too fast. Overall, we don't want to descend quicker than 1,000 feet a minute because of the pressurization, since we don't have a pressure cabin. So 1,000 feet a minute, that is all that I want my ears to suffer from. Okay then, final thing here, let's go into the weather menu for Lübeck. QNH 1003, wind 310 at 12, slightly variable, few clouds, 3,405 degrees. Okay, set QNH 1003. Set. Awesome. So, rate of descent required now 1,100 feet a minute. Well, let's reduce power a little bit more. Don't want to go all the way to idle, because that might not be that good for the engines, but... well. Okay, we're about to enter a couple of clouds. The probe heat is on. And a little bit of PFD setup here. We do want a DME. And we do want some bearings. Alright, descent 3,000. And from there we're going to catch up the ILS. And the right hand turn. Angle of bank required is a true airspeed divided by 10 plus 7, so we're looking at TAS 150, so 21 degrees angle of bank is providing us with our standard rate turn, but I have a feeling that that is more than we actually need over here. Okay, so ILS is selected, localizer alive. Okay, approach checklist. It is QNH. QNH 1003. Okay, ComNav GNS for approach set. V approach 110. V target is going to be 90 knots on the short final. Approach briefing completed. Belts fastened. Gyro checked. Fuel selector left and right are on. Okay, park brake released. Landing lights on. Approach checklist complete. So, level off in 3000. Here we go. We'll let the speed slowly come back. 110 sounds good for the initial approach. We just gotta bring ourselves into a position where we can get extra drag whenever we need it. Trim it out. Just look at how smoothly you can trim this. That is really wonderful. Okay, ILS chart is on. Okay, flaps approach. And glide slope capture. Look at how lovely it flies. Barely need to touch the power levers. And yeah, just get me rid of that caution, please. So, go around altitude 3000 is set. Heading back to the runway track. Awesome. Quite a bit of headwind here. Ground speed is just 91 knots. So we're looking at a target vertical speed of about 450 feet a minute. And that should get us established nicely and lovely. Like that. Alright, awesome. So this is really good. I really love those flight dynamics. They did an awesome job. Really an awesome job. You can really feel that everybody involved with it really put their heart and their blood in this airplane. And that's what you feel that. You immediately feel that this thing has been designed by people who know what they're doing, rather than some developers where either the trim is shit or where the behavior of the airplane on their axis is shit. This one hand flies beautifully, trims beautifully. Now, I don't have pitch power values for this particular version of the engine. I only have them for the lower rated engines, so I can't compare the pitch and power values, but what I see here absolutely seems believable. And this is really a lot of fun to fly. Brings you back straight to the origins of your flight training. Oh, I just accidentally hit my power lever here. So at 1500 we are going to start configuring the airplane for our final approach. I just don't want to go too slow too early. And then just reset that altitude to kill the altitude warning up there. Looking good. Right, 1500, that's basically now. Pull that power off. Gear lever down. I could probably just have kept the power. Let's try that. 20% with the gear down. Yeah, speed is coming back nicely. Okay, flaps full. Now we need to put on a little bit of power, of course. So 90 knots for the approach is looking good. So 80 knots ground speed means 400 feet a minute rate of descent in order to keep the glide slope. So that's pretty much set. Okay, landing checklist. Landing gear, down 3 green, flaps, full, autopilot disengaged. Landing checklist complete. It's a little bit bumpy here, but that brings in a little bit of fun to the flight as well, doesn't it? For this flight I set the MSFS realistic turbulence down to medium, and at medium it's really quite a bit of fun to fly this plane. If you set it to realistic, that's a bit of an overkill. Unfortunately, Microsoft really managed to wreck that. It used to be really good. I mean, the most successful video on my channel now is how realistic is the turbulence, and I came to a very good conclusion in there, but ever since they wrecked it again. So medium works pretty well with this, giving you a little bit of turbulence like I would absolutely expect in conditions like these. 20 knots of wind, 500 feet. Yep, you are definitely going to be shaking around in an airplane like this. Checked. Especially when getting as close to the ground as we are right now. That's when you are really going to be shaken. 14 knots of wind going over those trees over there and over the houses. Good luck. Okay, minimum. Continue. Now we're getting over the field. That should hopefully smooth out a little bit. Okay, power off. Flare, decrap. Perfect. Alright, vacate the runway next to the right. So, 20 knots of crosswind that was. And a good load of fun. Alright, so we made it down. Stop that timer please, 32 minutes in the air. Sounds like a good flight. Then down to the airport chart please. And we can certainly zoom that in for a bit. Alright, the entire airplane is off the runway. We'll just stop here for a moment. And then we can do the after landing checklist. So, flaps up, pitot heat, off, transponder, standby, landing time recorded, fuel selector, down to cross feed. Okay, after landing checklist complete. That was fun. Honestly, the thing flies so great manually. It really feels that the guys who programmed this knew what they were doing. Obviously they did. They were all real DA42 pilots. Ooh, a little bit of crosswind there. Now, you will surely remember from my first video with the DA42 that I did have some problems taxiing it in the crosswind at first. Now, that's still true, but you quickly get accustomed to it. It is a bit of a challenge, but I mean, look down at the pedals and what I'm doing down there. But you can get it under control. And I do have a feeling that it helps just to put a little bit of asymmetric engine thrust in here. So I'm playing with it just now, and well, look at that, 20% load on the right end engine, and those 20 knots of crosswind are basically cancelled out. so let's go ahead and break it down a little bit now. Now I've just taken the power off on the right side as well, and man, you can really feel the airplane react immediately. Okay, stunt number 1 it is. Where's that stunt number 1? No, stunt number 3. Yeah, that's good enough. The stunt it is. And here we are. Beautiful. Okay, parking checklist. Parking brake set, power levers idle for 2 minutes. We basically had that. Engine system fuel page. Alright, that is looking good. Awesome. Okay, avionic master off. Engine master off. I just love it how quickly those engines stop. Okay, and strobe lights off, electrical master off, and that's the parking checklist complete. Alright then, time to swap students, and unless the other guy has been puking already, now it's his time to get his revenge and get myself puking. And that is basically how you change positions all the time with a flight student. But here we are, my friends, DA42 from Chaos. I still love the name. I still completely love it. Alright, and I tell you honestly, I love it. It flies so great. It's probably one of the best hand-flying aircraft in the entire simulator. Now, don't ask me for a comparison with A2A, please, because I haven't flown a real DA42. I haven't flown a real Comanche, so I can't give you direct comparison, but all I can tell you is that this one flies really, really nicely. You do need a lot of rudder during the taxi to keep it straight, but let's be honest over here, at 20 knots crosswind, flight students wouldn't be up in the air anymore anyway. That would be only for the instructors if they needed to do maintenance ferries or something. Apart from that, it's a beautiful looking airplane, and it's a beautiful rendition of it as well. I really like it, and I can really recommend it as well. Gonna be out on the 10th of February 2024. The pricing is unknown at this moment as far as I'm aware, but I'm pretty sure that it is going to be decently priced for what is actually being delivered with it. I mean, honestly, over here that one's easily worth 30 or 40 euros in my opinion, so that certainly wouldn't be asked too much. Now, lots of fun to fly with it. I am certainly going to enjoy doing more flights with it, and I feel kind of sorry that I have to stop the recording now because I really got to get ready for work, and it's a 5-day flight, so I can't fly this one for the next 5 days unfortunately. But hey, when I'm getting back, I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more fun with this. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like, as it does really help out the channel, and subscribe if you're up for more. If you really love what I'm doing, would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. But until then, thank you for watching, and see you all again on the next one.